Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on the 4-hour time frame, because currently Bitcoin is breaking down from this massive symmetrical triangle pattern that we have been talking about on the channel here for quite some time. So the time has finally come and we have broken out to the downside in this case, which means that Bitcoin is currently targeting about 69,000 in the Bitcoin price. Now, of course, this did happen during a weekend, and typically during a weekend, we tend to see fake outs. However, in this case, guys, how can we confirm that this is an actual breakout? Well, first of all, we have candle closes below the point of the breakout. So in this case, we have candle closes below this symmetrical triangle, and we have increasing volume. Now, we did not get some kind of breakout retest resumption. I do think that something like this is still possible, or even just a fake out in general. But for now, the chart is simply telling us that we are breaking to the downside and are targeting this 69K level. This is also something that I mentioned in the signals group. I really do not like this breakout here, but I have to be objective and just trust the technical analysis. And basically the TA is currently telling us that we're simply breaking to the downside, right? Now, the point of invalidation for this breakout is at around 85.5K. So if you start seeing candle closes above the point of the breakout here, I am going to consider this breakout to be invalidated, meaning that we are no longer targeting this 69K level and that we have to cross off this price target. I will get into some other potentially bullish scenarios here in just a second. However, first we must take into consideration that Bitcoin is currently in a downtrend on this 4-hour time frame. The first downtrend that we would have to break has some resistance sitting at around 84.8K, and this of course trends down over time, but the most clean break of this downtrend would be if we break the one that is currently sitting on the wicks, which has some resistance to the upside at about 87.6K. So by then we will of course have invalidated this bearish breakout and will already be trading back inside this range. So if early on next week we do end up trading back inside the range, I will simply consider this to be a fake out by then. But before I'm even going to consider potentially us breaking to the upside at some point, we would first need to get back inside this range. And if we do trade to the upside here, once again, I am also expecting there to be some resistance around this ascending trend line, which was previous support. So for now, that is everything that you need to know about this breakout here. I am basically bearish so long as we're trading below 85.5K, and I will not be flipping bullish until we actually break this descending line of resistance. On the 1-day time frame, Bitcoin is still in this downtrend in the price, as well as in a downtrend in the RSI momentum indicator. So I really like how over the last week or so, I've really been pointing this out specifically and saying like, hey, be careful, do not flip too bullish on Bitcoin until we start actually breaking above this descending trend line in the RSI. I do think a lot of you guys that have been watching my videos here over the last couple of weeks probably saved a lot of money from being aware that we are not breaking out yet on this daily time frame. If you really want to get some kind of bullish breakout to the upside for Bitcoin, we need to break out above this descending trend line. Currently, the resistance is sitting at around 93.5K, and this also trends down over time. Do keep in mind, like I always say with these descending trend lines in the RSI, for example, if you're going to wait for a breakout above the price here, or potentially even above this RSI momentum indicator descending trend line, note that you will not be catching the exact low wherever it may form, because of course you're waiting for the breakout above resistance to get a higher probability setup on that type of swing trade where maybe you get some kind of breakout, retest, resumption type structure. However, you will not be catching the exact low. So there's upside and downside to using a strategy like that. Now, I want to come back to these lower timeframes real quick, because currently on the 4-hour time frame, we are dipping into oversold territory as I'm recording this video, which is of course whenever the RSI is below 30. Besides that, the lower time frame we go, the more bearish this RSI actually is. And by bearish, I mean the more oversold it is. Now, typically when the RSI is in deep oversold territory, like you're seeing here on these lower time frames, usually that means that there is limited room to the downside. So typically you will start to see the RSI kind of reset back to the upside, potentially even to around this 50 level here. So for example, this 1 hour time frame might get some kind of look like this early on next week. And the way the RSI actually resets to the upside is either by the price just chopping sideways, in which case the RSI will reset up quite slowly, or you might get some bullish momentum in the short term, in which case the RSI will reset back up to this 50 level more quickly and can even go past it, because when we are trading above the 50 level on the RSI, it means that we are seeing bullish momentum on that time frame. One last thing to note about these lower time frames is that you might start to see some bullish divergences start to form. So this could be a piece of confluence to look for early on next week for some potential reversal signals in the short term. Now, let me be very clear that there is a difference between the different time frames, because a reversal signal like that in combination with some other reversal signals as well could just mean a bit of a pump to the upside on these lower time frames, while simultaneously we are not breaking this downtrend on the 4-hour time frame, right? So understand that there is a difference between the different time frames as always. Next, moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on the 3-day time frame, currently we have quite a bit of liquidity to the upside, sitting at 87,000. But this is, of course, because Bitcoin just dumped massively to the downside. If we zoom out to this 2-week time frame, we get a bit of a different picture. We do have some liquidity to the downside left, sitting around this 81K level. This looks like it is potentially about to be taken out, and there is even liquidity as low as 79,000. However, most of the liquidity on this 2-week time frame is sitting to the upside, so that is something to take note of. But of course, like I said, Bitcoin is currently in a downtrend, and we are targeting 69K in the Bitcoin price. So the way I use these Bitcoin liquidation heat maps is simply by looking at some potential pockets that could be taken out in the short term, while also taking into account the actual trend that we are in. So when we're in a downtrend, I'm looking at the liquidity to the downside as some potential short-term price targets. And when we're in an uptrend, I'm looking towards liquidity pockets to the upside to be potentially taken out. Lastly, on this 1-year time frame, we get the most clear picture, because here you can see that we do have some liquidity left at about 81.8K. This has been here for quite some time. The next big pocket of liquidity below that, guys, is already sitting below these previous lows at about 76.9K in the Bitcoin price, and even about $17 billion worth of long positions sitting at 75K. As far as liquidity to the upside goes, that is sitting at around 95.6K, and a lot, close to $30 billion worth of short positions sitting around this 100K level. So if Bitcoin really decides to turn around here and break out above this descending line of resistance, I will be looking for this liquidity at 100K to be swept. But of course, like I said earlier on in this video, quite a lot of resistance and everything needs to be broken before you will see me flip much more bullish once again. Now, lastly, guys, before I leave off today, if you want to get access to my real-time analysis and my real-time trading signals on Discord, you can do so completely for free. Simply join the Road to 1 Million community on Discord with the link in the video description. And once you are in here and verified, you simply go to this Trading Signals Access channel. And from there, you simply follow these 3 steps in order to get access to my trading signals completely for free. But regardless, if you do end up checking that out or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.